So in today's video, I thought it would be fair to give a little bit of credit to Daniel Sorensen. Now, Daniel Sorensen just signed with the New Orleans Saints. When it comes to Daniel Sorensen, let's be honest, he was one of the most frustrating players on this team last year. He simply was always out of position. He looked like at times he had never played the position. Like, for how long Daniel Sorensen was in the NFL, how long he's been a part of that Chiefs team, there was times this year he genuinely looked like he had no idea what he was doing. There were so many plays where a simple switch on a receiver is what he was supposed to do, or he just needed to stay in coverage longer because I think he blew coverage against the Buffalo Bills. I think the switching issue, he had that with the Cincinnati Bengals. And the conference championship game on a 2-point conversion play. Like, Daniel Sorensen constantly, he was a major liability to this defense. While at the same time it looked like Daniel Sorensen struggled all the time, I don't think all of it was necessarily his fault. Daniel Sorensen should have never been on the field as much as he was. Once they finally benched him, I think that was the best decision they could have made, because for me personally, once Daniel Sorensen was benched and he became more of a role player instead of a full-time starter, Daniel Sorensen definitely looked like he knew what he was doing. He was playing better football. Daniel Sorensen is not a starter quality, but when you put him in situations that he can succeed, I think he's going to be a much better player. He's never meant to play a deep safety. He's never meant to do spectacular things. He is simply there to be a key contributor and a great role player. And when you put him in a role position, Daniel Sorensen makes some great plays. Like, Daniel Sorensen, his high of highs are the highest you can get, and his low of lows are some of the worst things we have ever seen. But I don't contribute all of it to his failures to him. The coaching staff obviously put him in some very tough situations he should have never been in, situations that should have been left up to guys like Juan Thornhill and Tyrann Mathieu last season. So all of it's not really his fault. But Daniel Sorensen also made some of the biggest plays, arguably in Chiefs history, that contributed to the Super Bowl runs that they had of the last few years. You look at the play he made against the Texans on that fake punt. That swung the momentum of that game completely, and from that, the Chiefs rallied. They scored 51 points, beat them 51-31. They flipped a 21-point deficit, 24-point deficit all the way into their favor and ended up winning by 20. So that play was massive. He had the fumble out of the end zone, because when I first thought of Daniel Sorensen signing with the Saints, the very first play that came to my mind obviously was the Texans play. I think that's most Chiefs fans' favorite play of Daniel Sorensen by far. That play was spectacular. It was so big in the history of the Chiefs, that one play right there. Who knows what the history of the Chiefs are right now without that play? There's plays in the NFL where you look, like you have the Tuck Rule play. What happens with Tom Brady? You have all these plays that one play doesn't go your way. What happens? We don't know. But Daniel Sorensen making that one spectacular play against the Texans was a sign of the highest of highs that Daniel Sorensen can bring to a football field. And then you have the play against the Cleveland Browns where he makes the Browns fumble out of the end zone, stops their momentum. Then you have the interception against the Chargers in Mexico City against Phillip Rivers to end that game. Like, Daniel Sorensen had so many good plays that his highs were some of the highest that you can get in the NFL. Like, there were times where he was making plays that were literally changing the complexion of entire games. But then you also have him on the other hand that had plays that were changing the complexion of the game in the complete opposite direction and costing the Chiefs games. So Daniel Sorensen, he's going to be missed. He was never, last year for sure, never really starter quality. But when it comes to what he brought to the Chiefs, what he brought to the field, and the big play moments that he brought, those plays will never leave our minds. And Daniel Sorensen, as much as we love to meme him, as much as we love to laugh at him, he still deserves a lot of respect for what he's done for the Kansas City Chiefs.